Hi friends, have you seen The Last of Us? Are mind-controlling parasites fictional or real? It's actually real, and you probably have been exposed to several parasites, but most of them aren't bad. Just like bacteria, some live happily within us to help us live, while others can be quite harmful, like Toxoplasma gondii. 1 million Americans every year get infected, and a quarter of Americans are already infected. And you get this from animals and eating animals, or eating infected food. So let me tell you who's at risk and how people get infected. But before I do that, let me show you an example of mind-controlling parasites. Heard of the zombie ant fungus that infects carpenter ants in Brazil? It literally sucks the life out of the ant as it controls its mind. Incredibly, the infected ant climbs to their death up a plant stem exactly 25 centimeters, the perfect condition for the parasite Cordyceps to grow. And these dead ants are found hanging up the stem with their jaws locked on the plant stem so that the fungi can reproduce and ultimately explode from the dead ant's head. Terrible way to die. Heard of Himalayan salt? Well, the Himalayan mountains have other treasures, such as a parasite called Cordyceps sinesis, which causes a similar death to caterpillars. Caterpillars possessed by Cordyceps bury themselves about a couple of inches in the soil, and then suddenly in the spring, the fungus bursts through the dead caterpillar's head. Sounds gross, but this is the most expensive fungi in the world, more so than truffles, going for prices comparable to gold, platinum, and diamonds. Guess how much a pound of Cordyceps sinesis costs? Before cultivation, it was going for $50,000 a pound. Why so expensive? Well, it's super hard to grow, and it's known as an aphrodisiac and energy booster. The story goes, Tibetan sheep herders noticed these benefits in their sheep that ate the fungus. So they tried it out themselves and noticed they had improved stamina and energy. This is what happens in the real world. They aren't waiting for clinical trials. Since then, it's been shown that athletes improve performance, oxygen capacity, and even Chinese athletes have accredited their winning performance to Cordyceps. Now you can find this in your local supplement and herbal stores. And I take a combination supplement with Cordyceps daily. If you want to know what I take, I put it in a link in the show notes below. So what does parasites have to do with animals? Animals like poultry, sheep, and cats, especially kittens that live outdoors, are likely infected with the parasite Toxoplasma that they got from eating raw meat, which includes birds, pigs, goats, cattle, and mice. Like those ants and caterpillars, Toxoplasma has been shown to control the mind of mice and make them more attracted to cat urine. Mice are supposed to be afraid of cats, right? A smart one runs away when they smell cat pee, but an infected one runs towards the pee. 7.25 million people, including 60 million Americans, are chronically infected with Toxoplasma, and you may be one of them. If you have a cat, especially a kitten, it may be shedding millions of parasites in its poop, which can survive in the soil for several months. And how do you get it? By ingesting the eggs of the parasite. So if you scoop poop and didn't wash your hands before preparing food, or rubbing your face, or if you're sleeping with your cat, yeah, you've probably been exposed if your cat is infected. And this is why if you're pregnant, your cat shouldn't be in the kitchen, and you should not be changing their litter box, sleeping with them. Really, after you pet them, you got to wash your hands very well. This is especially true for the third trimester, as an acute infection can be fatal or cause severe brain, eye, and nervous system deformities to your unborn child. It is a clear cause of miscarriages. And if you are young and healthy, the majority of people won't have any symptoms as long as they remain healthy. That's what we used to think. However, in the last few years, Toxoplasmosis has been implicated for the deaths of traffic and workplace accidents, suicides, and it's even possibly a risk factor for developing schizophrenia. And this is a schizophrenic brain with Toxoplasmosis, and this is a brain without Toxoplasmosis. The difference is dramatic. And I don't understand why there are no clinical trials to try to eradicate Toxoplasmosis in schizophrenic patients. How does 7.25 billion people get infected with Toxoplasma when most people don't have cats or pets? Remember how cats got infected? By other animals. And when you get infected by eating raw or undercooked meats like beef, chicken, or pork, drink unpasteurized milk or dairy products, or drink contaminated water, or you're eating cross-contaminated cooked food with infected raw food. This is why it's super important to separate your raw animal products starting at this supermarket. Besides a mom passing Toxoplasma in utero to the unborn child, you're not going to get this from another human unless you got an organ transplant and you're a recipient. Those are really rare cases. How do you know if you have Toxoplasmosis? Have you ever had fever, muscle pain, sore throat, swollen lymph nodes, and fatigue? That describes almost every kind of infection, like the flu and acute toxoplasmosis. It can take 10 days to 3 weeks to have symptoms after exposure. The good news is that temperature kills all different life stages of Toxoplasma. So if you cook your meat to an internal temperature of 70 degrees Celsius or 160 degrees Fahrenheit, or freeze your meat first to 18 degrees Celsius or 0 degrees Fahrenheit, then that temperature can pretty much kill all different stages of Toxoplasma parasites. Unfortunately, once you get infected, they hang out inside your nervous tissue, like your brain, even your eye. It can hide inside your muscles, and you really don't have symptoms until it actually bursts in your body. And then that causes inflammation. If it is in your eye, it can cause blindness. If it's in your brain, it can give you seizures. And the symptoms are actually really intense when it decides to be alive. And I usually see patients at this stage, and depending on the person, they may require several weeks of treatment or they may need suppression for life. And if you work in any of these occupations, just know you are at higher risk. You need to take precautions. Wearing gloves does not replace washing your hands. If you have cats, work with cats. You need to safely remove their poop from the cat litter box by, number one, doing that daily, and don't shake the cat litter box. You want to flush the feces down the toilet or put them in a bag and dispose of it carefully. Or if you're going to bury them deeply in the dirt. Disinfect your litter pans daily with scalding hot water. And of course, wear disposable gloves when handling a litter box or when you're working in soil or sand that is possibly contaminated with cat feces. And definitely wash your hands after removing the gloves. Keep your cats separate from other animals. Remember, any brooms, shovels, and other equipment used to clean cat cages, they're also dirty. And don't feed your cats raw meat, and at the minimum, freeze it. And the best protection from any infectious disease is really not to get it. You don't build immunity against Toxoplasma. And if you want to learn more about immunity and medical mysteries, watch this next video.